Well, hey there, Aletheia Church. Hope that you guys are doing well and enjoying your time in gospel community, either in the evening or whatever time of day you guys may be gathering. I just want to spend a few minutes recapping my sermon from Joshua chapter 3 that I entitled That You May Know, where we really looked at this concept or this idea of the fact that God reveals himself to the Israelites in various ways so that they might know him and also trust him. And I said that he does that primarily in three different ways here in the text in Joshua chapter 3. That he reveals himself through his wisdom, that he reveals himself through his faithfulness, and that he reveals himself through his presence. And so the first thing we see God revealing himself through his wisdom, we see that in verses 1 through 6, but specifically in verse 4 where he says this, do not come near it, that's referring to the Ark of the Covenant, in order that you may know the way you shall go, for you have not passed this way before. So what God is saying to them is, hey, in my presence, I'm going to go before you and show you the way into the land of Canaan so that it might go well with you. And God does this not just in a military conquest for Israel, but he does this in so many different ways for us as well. And I hope you guys will spend some time talking about how the wisdom of God is laid before us in his word and how following him leads to it going well with us, but also knowing him more. The second thing he does is that he reveals himself, or he makes himself known that he is faithful. And he talks about this in verse 7 where he says this to Joshua, today I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with you, right? And so we see that God primarily showed his faithfulness in various ways to Israel in the Exodus through Moses, and I hope you guys will spend some time talking through that. But that really, he ultimately continues to reveal that faithfulness through the leadership of Joshua. And he promises both Joshua that he will be there with him, but he also promises to the people that they will see that God is going to be faithful to them through Joshua. And lastly, we see that God is going to promise that he will be present with them, right? And he says this in verse 10, that he is going to go before them and drive out their enemies. And the question that Israel would have asked is how? How will we know that you will be with us? How do we know that you're going to go before us and drive out our enemies? And he says that he will show this through the miracle of as the priests who are carrying the Ark of the Covenant enter the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan, that he will provide a miracle, that he will stop the waters of the Jordan River from flowing, and that in that they will know that he is going to be present with them and go before them and provide safety for them. And as we saw in verses 14 through 17, this is exactly what God does. The priests enter the waters of the Jordan. As the Israelites stand on the banks of the Jordan, water stops and they safely pass across opposite of Jericho to the other side of the Jordan River. And this is how God works with his people. He wants us to know that he is wisdom and that that wisdom is accessible. He wants us to know that he is faithful through the leadership of others and through his leadership. And lastly, he wants us to know that he is present with us, that he goes before us, and that ultimately this is found in Jesus. And God shows this to us in passages like John chapter 17 verses 1 through 5. I hope you guys will spend some time reading through that. I hope that you'll spend some time talking about how Jesus is all of these things for us, and that we know that God is faithful, that he is wisdom, and that he is present in Jesus, both for us and for our lives, but also for the lives of others. I hope that just this time of studying will lead to a greater trust and appreciation for God and what he's done for us in Christ, that it will lead to a greater worship of Jesus, and that it will draw you closer to him. I'm praying all these things over you guys this week. I love you guys very much. Have a great week. Go and be the church.